Good afternoon, everybody. Sean here from Hammerhead. And as you can guess by the title, today I'm going to be teaching a little bit more about common law. Those of you who haven't, please go back to my other video, Common Law Part 1, the foundational knowledge, the beginnings of what this is. And today I'm going to touch on where we left off in Part 1. Basically, people have understood what the fraud was, how it happened, and where they can get remedy, what remedies are to be had, and how you can use it to apply remedy to your personal situation and to your personal life. I don't recommend anybody in the beginning stages of learning common law use it in court or anything of that nature until you have a firm foundation on what it is you're doing. And that takes a little bit of time. Like I said, it's very simple. Common law is very basic, and it's that way for a reason, because it's supposed to be simple. It's for the common people. It's the law of the land, not the law of the sea. In our world, there's no lawyers. There's no money required in order to get justice. All there is one man or woman making a claim, not a complaint, a claim against another man or woman that has to answer for themselves personally, and nobody else can answer for them, which is what happens in the Admiralty law of the sea, the current legal system. You can get lawyers and you can get all sorts of things in place to avoid any liability or anything. In common law, you can't avoid liabilities. You can't avoid if you've done harm to somebody. There's only one rule, and that's do no harm. And that applies, like I said, everything from stealing a piece of gum up to and including murder. So that is the premise. So basically where we left off in part 1, I'm just going to allow a few more folks to hammer in here. If you wouldn't mind, when you come into the stream, could you please hit the like button? It really helps the channel, and it lets other people know that we're doing a live right now, so maybe they can get on their phones or something to see it. That would be appreciated. Where we left off with the first video was basically we figured out the birth certificate fraud. We figured out the fact that they duped all of us by returning a birth certificate to us instead of the certificate of live birth that our parents signed. We figured out what exactly was done there with all capital letters, capitis dementio, basically the reduction of status. They've taken something which was yours, which was your parents, their offspring, their property in common law, and they've stolen it, effectively stolen it with trickery. And on paper, they've created a new vessel that's been traded on the stock exchange using a CUSIP number. So when you go back to that video and refer to it, if you want to watch that one and then watch this one in sequence, that would be helpful to you when you're beginning to learn. We do talks every week, Gordon and I. Last week we were at Peace and Friendship Park in Halifax for the Worldwide Freedom event. I'm not sure where we're going to be this week. We haven't decided yet what we're doing. As soon as we do, I'll let you guys know. Those of you that are in Nova Scotia or New Brunswick and that may want to attend, you're more than welcome. Everybody's welcome there. And we have people that want to come up and ask questions and speak on microphone or on the camera, and they do that as well. And we have an open mic policy. Basically, after we give our talks, anybody that wants to come up and use the microphone to talk, they're more than welcome to do that. Free speech is alive and well, and we're going to keep it that way. That's our whole goal. But anyway, I'm going to read you a few things, a few passages that are going to blow your mind. I'm going to start to give you some ideas of what you can do now that you know that you've been duped, and where can you get your remedy in common law. And we really believe, Gordon and myself, that it's the path forward because of the very fact that it's open to all men and all women. You don't require any cash to access it. And basically what it is, it's your natural born self. It's your natural born inherent rights, the ones you were born with, the ones that you have, the ones that are intact from your birth, haven't gone anywhere. They haven't been turned into any governmental privilege by a stroke of a pen or anything of that nature. You still have all those rights intact. You don't need to worry about the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. You don't need to worry about any of those other papers, because you don't, man and a woman does not get their rights from a piece of paper. You can't. I mean, think about it logically. How do you get your rights from a piece of paper? That you'd have to agree that somebody has authority over you the moment you're born. And we don't go on that premise in common law. We believe that every man and woman is their own sovereign, essentially, and they're born with their own rights intact that can't be taken from them. So in any case, we'll get on with a little bit here. I'm not sure how long the stream's going to be, but like I said, if you wouldn't mind, smash the like button. We can get a few people in here. Reading a book right now, and it's called Fruit from a Poisonous Tree by Melvin Stamper. And I want to read you guys a passage about this. And basically what they're referring to here was that the United States was bankrupt in 1913. They were completely out of money and they weren't sure what they were going to do. So here's a little scam that they came up with. And this talks about some of what I was talking about last time, but I'll read you word for word out of this book. I have it highlighted here, what it's saying. It says, very soon, every American, and this applies to all areas of the world that practice admiralty law, which is a lot of the maritime law. Very soon, every American will be required to register their biological property in a national system designed to track the people and will operate under the ancient system of pledging. By such methodology, we can compel people to submit to our agenda, which will affect our security as a chargeback for our fiat paper currency. Every American will be forced to register or suffer not being able to work and earn a living. They will be our chattel. Go look up that word, CHATTEL. Basically what it means, they'll be our property, they'll be our creation, they'll be our product. Hey, Elizabeth, thanks for coming on. Appreciate it. They will be our chattel and we will hold the security interest over them forever. That's pretty bold. By operation of the law merchant under the scheme of secured transactions. Law merchant meaning the admiralty law system, the law of the sea. We will hold security interest over them forever by operation of the law merchant under the scheme of secured transactions. Americans, by unknowingly or unwittingly delivering the bills of lading to us, will be rendered bankrupt and insolvent, forever to remain economic slaves through taxation secured by their pledges. They will be stripped of their rights and given a commercial value designed to make us a profit that will be none the wiser. They will be none the wiser. For not one man in a million could ever figure out our plans. And if by accident one or two would figure it out, we have in our arsenal plausible deniability. After all, this is the only logical way to fund government, by floating liens and debt to the registrants in the form of benefits and privileges. This will inevitably reap us huge profits beyond our wildest expectations and leave every American a contributor or to this fraud, which we will call social insurance. Without realizing it, every American will issue us for any loss we may incur, insure us for any loss we may incur. And in this manner, every American will unknowingly be our servant, however begrudgingly. I can tell you right now, from my standpoint, I'm pretty begrudging of it. And they're not, I'm not in their control. The people will become helpless and without any hope for their redemption. We will employ the high office of the president of our dummy corporation to foment this plot against America. Having established plausible deniability, even if the people became enlightened that they had a remedy and pursued it, the attorneys, judges, and legislators could claim they did not understand the people's claims. You see that all the time in common law when someone's trying to move a case in common law in the court, the judge says, we don't understand you. In other words, we don't stand under you. We don't stand under your authority. That's what understand means in the legal world. Especially if the technical requirements for achieving it were not followed. Pursuant to the statutory requirements, requiring the public schools to teach civics, government, and history classes out of federally approved, politically correct textbooks written by the publishing houses owned by the owners of the Federal Reserve would assure that the people would not discover the remedy for a long time, if ever. Wow, that's pretty powerful stuff. So basically, right from day one, they've come up with this system of pledging and the birth certificate fraud and the CUSIP number and exchanging your name and the fruits of your labor to benefit them and them only, giving you the guise of benefits, which you're not really getting. Who wrote this? This was written by Melvin Stamper, and it's a book called Fruit from a Poisonous Tree. And that paragraph I just read to you is found on the bottom of page 59 and the top of page 60. So, wow, that explains a lot of what went on, what the scheme was. And here's a couple other things I want to read you out of the same page, or out of the same book. If you guys wouldn't mind, hit the like button for me. The entrenched powers that engineered the scheme for the people to register their property and person with the United States and its instrumentalities gain control of the people's property and right to property through registration and licensing. What happens when you appear and claim the name ascribed on the complaint? You and the fiction become one and the same. So the flesh and blood man and the legal fiction become one and the same. You've agreed to play that part. You've agreed to play the part of the surety for the debt. You're the person they're looking for. You're the one that's going to pay all the fines. You're going to be assigned all the blame, and you're going to make all the payments. That's what happens when you claim the name. You and the fiction become one and the same. You have changed masks from a natural person to an artificial one. So that's what's gone on in the court system. And that's why you'll never get any remedy in there, because it's a big game. It's a big swindle. And they have all the rules, and they've written everything out. And you have no room to move in there unless you're an attorney or you're part of their society. You're part of the bar society. And it is a society. It's a personal revenue stream generator. It's like printing money. In fact, the funny part of that is that the very ones that have created this nonsense are the ones that are printing money, i.e. the evil men and women in the Federal Reserve, the private Federal Reserve banking system. So anyway, here's what happened in 1913 when this whole thing took place. Our courts are no longer courts of justice or a bastion of freedom. They became the executive's tools with the passage of the War Powers Act of 1933. War Powers Act of 1933. Go read up on that. The judges are little more than organized crime families who have invaded the people's court and now only impersonate judges and give lip service to justice by exchanging obfuscation and sophistry in place of justice system, void of any form of judicial integrity. And I'm not sure what that word means, obfuscation. I'll have to go look that one up. But anyway, that's what's gone on. The balance of our freedoms will follow once we again control the courts and justice is available to us all without purchase. This is where common law comes in. If we cannot achieve our freedom by the rule of law, then the alternative is a force of arms. This is the way it has always been, but I prefer the rule of law. I absolutely do too. So here's what happens. You have to reclaim your status. You have to correct your status. So they're making assumptions and presumptions that you are under their control and that you are playing the game as the surety for the bond. You're the named. You're the person on all capital letters. You're that vessel they created. You have to correct that status. If you don't correct it, they continue to assume that about you. So we're going to go into some remedies here in a minute on how you go about correcting that. What's the proper way of doing that? The problem remains that if you don't know your proper status or rights, you don't have any. When legislative bodies pass a statute, they always must create a remedy to that statute in law, because this is still a free country. Don't worry too much about the laws that are being passed. Just concern yourself with the remedy, because the majority of the laws being passed pertaining to persons or entities in personam doesn't refer to the natural person. It only refers to that legal fiction. Remember I was telling you, the all capital letters. One way of doing it, and it's a fine way that Gordy and myself are looking into, is we're going to create our own trust. And we're going to be in charge of that trust. And we're going to put all our property into that trust. We're going to put our motor vehicles, and we're going to put our motorcycles, and we're going to put our homes, and we're going to put property that we don't want anybody to interfere with in that trust, but we're going to be controlling of that trust. So then on the side of the road, if whoever it is tries to take that property, or they try and take any your automobile or whatever it is, they can't, because you are not the legal owner of it. It's in a trust that you control, but it's registered to them. It's not registered to the province. So if you don't have a registration and you don't have a license with them, there's no contracts. You've removed both contracts. Now, I'm not saying go out there and drive without insurance. That's foolish. What you can do, though, is you can get an assurance company, or you can get a company that'll issue a bond for $2 million in liability, which will cover you if you damage somebody else's property, i.e. you bang into somebody in an accident. That's just being smart. But to be completely truthful, it's not even required in the common law world, because remember, no victim, no crime. So if you drove for years and didn't harm anybody or anything, there's no problem. But the minute you do, there's an issue. Either you have to have deep pockets to be able to fix that issue, or you put some sort of assurance on your vehicles or whatever it is. That's just good common sense. So what you have to do to correct your status, I'm going to tell you right now, you don't need any forms. You don't need to copy and paste anything from any website. What you have to do is you have to write it from your heart. And it's even better if you write it with your own written hand. You don't have to type it. I would write it with my own written hand and type it and send both. That's what I did. So you pick people, anybody at all that assumes some sort of control over you. So that would be anybody on the list. So that could be the government, which in my case, that's a lot of what I wrote to was the Department of Justice, the very top person in the Department of Justice, the Prime Minister of Canada. I wrote to Revenue Canada. I wrote to all these different places that assume that and presume that they have contracts with me and that I am playing the part of the legal fiction, which I'm not. And I basically told them, thank you for administering my fund, my affairs for the last 38 years. But it's come to my realization that it was all done so via fraud. Me being of sound mind, sound body, and of a mature age, am now taking control of all my affairs and going back to my original inherent, born with jurisdiction. You are all fired from this date forward. And then I signed my name. And I sent that registered mail to all of them. I think there was about 30 in total. Now, I wasn't sitting there by the mailbox waiting for them to reply, because actually I did get a letter back from the Governor General. I did get a letter back from him. The rest of them, no replies, nothing, and I wasn't expecting any. So do that with everything. If you wish to drive as a man or a woman, then there are forms available. You can cancel your motor vehicle registration. You can cancel and surrender your driver's license. Keep in mind, though, that if you operate commercially, say you drive truck for a living, you're going to require that license even as a man or a woman to operate. Because remember, Admiralty law and the legal system were designed primarily for commercial applications. That's what they were designed for. It was only through the process of fraud that they duped the everyday man and woman into thinking they need a driver's license or they need registration from the province and that you have no right to operate on their roads. First of all, it's not their roads. The roads are the people's. The people paid for them with their tax money, with their gas tax money, and they were built by the people. They weren't built by the government. The government doesn't build anything except for crime in Canada, as far as I've seen. They're a large criminal conglomerate, right? And if you don't believe me, just look around. Look around, man. It can be seen everywhere. And you're seeing it all over the world right now. They're trying to get more of this Agenda 2030. They're trying to get more of the sustainable development. Who's it sustainable for? It's not sustainable for you as a man or a woman. It's sustainable for their power structure. That's the truth of the matter. So correct your status. Gordon and I are going to be forming what's called the CCC. It's the Canadian Coalition or the Canadian Common Law Court. And basically, we're going to do the same thing that's been done in Great Britain. They've got the Common Law Court of Great Britain. We're going to create the Common Law Court of Canada. And we're in the process now of training some sheriffs that we're going to swear in. We're going to get our own courts together. We're going to have our own adjudicator, which is basically the judge. And we're going to pick 12 people randomly from the community to sit on the jury. That is a common law court. And we have every right as men or women to create that. If you're not getting any justice in their corrupt legal system, which you will not, then the only option you have left to you is to create your own common law court. So we're going to be doing that. We're going to have common law IDs for people that want them. They can pay a small fee. It just covers our paper expenses and laminating, and we'll send you out a common law ID. We'll have memberships available for people that want to do this. We'll have insurance available, or assurance, a bond. So if you want your own plates and you want to run around the roads without being part of their system, you can do that. We're moving all sorts of things forward. We're going to we have a court case in April. We're going to be live streaming, hopefully, from. We're going to show people what the remedies are and how they approach us whenever we switch the jurisdiction into common law, and some of the tricks to avoid and some of the ways to go about it. But I recommend that each one of you that's interested in changing your status, get in touch with me, or you can get in touch with any number of people. Get in touch with Gordon. I'm going to put my personal email, my work email, on here. I would ask that you don't share it with anybody other than those that are interested in getting information. I'm pretty private when it comes to my personal life. You can send me an email here if you want to know some more information. Just research it, though. You can figure it out really easy. And like I said, there's no forms for this. You just go fill out your own, write it from your heart. Because the minute people read this stuff, they're going to know whether you wrote it or whether it's some blank chain letter. And don't expect there to be instant phrases that you can spout off that's going to get you out of trouble. The basic law remains that if you've harmed somebody, you're liable no matter what. You can't get out of that. Don't worry about accessing your trust at the moment, even though eventually we're going to be working on that as well. You don't need to know that right now. There's no paperwork you can put into the government and all of a sudden you have control of your trust. That doesn't exist at the moment. We're working on everything at the same time. The main thing to do is to get yourself free of all their so-called control systems, all their presumptions and assumptions. Get yourself free from behind of all that. Start living in your truth. Start standing in your square as a man or a woman. And I think that is the only way forward. And I think that's going to, the minute we start holding people accountable that trespasses, including these people that somehow they think they're untouchable, like the government or cops or whatever, the minute things are going to change when you start holding them accountable for any time they trespass on you. And by trespass, I mean they do you harm in some way, form, or fashion. It can be financial harm. It can be not allowing you to move freely in on your own piece of land, in your own country. It can be seizing your property illegally And unlawfully, it can be any number of things, a trespass. It covers everything. And there's going to be pushback, guaranteed. Anytime something, common law is not new. And this is what I hear all the time. Oh, well, that system died years ago. No, it did not die. It didn't go anywhere. It's still here. Okay. It's still relevant and it's still here. It's never gone anywhere. Then you get people say, well, no one ever wins in common law court. Oh, yeah? I know people that have won all kinds of law of things, trespasses in common law court, even been awarded money and their kids back. I know lots of people that have done it. The thing is, you're never going to find any precedence on it, because what do you think they're going to do? Put that you won, send it out there in precedence that you won the case? They're never going to do that. They're just going to dismiss it or dissolve it like it never even happened. And that's why you don't see any victories. But I assure you it works. Okay, this isn't just some made up mumbo jumbo. This is what you were born with. The minute you were born, you had all these rights intact. You had common law. You were in the land, on the land as a common law man or woman. Baby, albeit at the time. But see, that's how they assume and presume you are a child of the province in Canada, or you are a child of the state in the United States. That's what they assume you are. You're not even capable of handling your own affairs. You're such an idiot. And look up the word idiot in legalese. Go to Black's Law and look up the word idiot. And if you want to go to my last live stream, go to my channel and go to the lives and click on the one we did in Halifax. And I talk all about the different meanings of words, including that word monster. And that's what they refer to human beings as, monsters, right? Something that doesn't even resemble the shape of mankind, a lower animal. That's their words, and that's exactly how they look at us. So if you want to be free, part of that freedom is education and learning how to use common law, which was the law of our grandparents and great-grandparents, and they used it. And so did my great-grandfather. He used it. It hasn't gone anywhere, folks. You just need to learn how to use it. Unfortunately, a lot of these people didn't pass that knowledge on. That's why I'm here, to help you with that. If you guys wouldn't mind, please smash that like button. It lets other people know that we're streaming here right now. That would help us out tremendously, guys, on the channel. We appreciate every one of you guys that's spending some time watching this. Monsters are also considered freaks, Elizabeth, and that's their wording. And what I did to learn legalese is I got the Black's Law dictionaries. I got 1 to 9, and I took legal forums and I highlighted certain sections, and then I went and looked at the meanings of the words. And eventually you'll start to learn what the sentences are. And then you learn what the paragraphs mean. And then eventually you can piece enough of it together to get an understanding about what's being spoken. And the common words that you think you know the meaning to, you don't have a clue. They're using words that you don't, they're speaking a whole other language in there, man. It's like you're English and you're trying to decipher German and you don't know any German words. They're speaking German in there. They're speaking some other language that you're not able to decipher, and you have to take the time to learn the lingo, and that's only going to protect you in common law. At least you know what it is they're assuming and presuming about you. So that's some of the remedies. I'm going to read a little more from something I wrote down about your status, just so you guys get some more ideas. Okay, once one corrects their status, they're no longer under the jurisdiction of police powers in the federal or provincial governments. You are then considered an alien to the de facto political system. When your status has been corrected, you are protected from unlawful actions and those done under the color of law, like acts or statutes. Color of law equals private law that created for only its internal membership, i.e. government agents, employees, or the bar society. Color of law. Acts and statutes are not law. Okay? They're given the color of law for their own private entities, their employees, which they're assuming you are because you haven't corrected your status and you're still going by the legal name. And you think you're the thing on the driver's license. In 1913, the United States started using admiralty law. It's based on military law and is all done by contracts. Everything's a contract in their world. American Bar Association started in 1913. The parent company to that created that was the Bar Association of the European International Bar Association, owned and controlled by the Rothschild family. There you go. So those of you who are wondering where the Bar Society came from, that's where it came from. European International Bar Association, owned and controlled by the Rothschild family. Guess who else owns and controls things in the Rothschild family, i.e. the Federal Reserve? What happens when you appear in court, like I said, and claim the name is you, the natural born man, and the legal fiction become one. You're joined together. You've now become together. You become one. And they love that because you're the surety for the bond. They got you then, man. They got you. You're the one that's going to pay all the fines. You're agreeing to play the role of surety, of defendant. You don't ever want to be a defendant, okay? You should always, when these authority figures interact with you, first of all, i.e., turn a video camera on. Everybody's got a phone. Put the thing on record and record the thing. Don't ever talk to these people without a video camera in their face. Trust me on this. Don't ever. Don't ever give them the phone if they ask for it. Don't give them anything. And if you don't want to speak with them, don't. Just say, I don't answer any questions. Am I free to go? Well, no, you're not free to go. Well, if I'm not free to go, am I being detained? And if they say yes, we'll say, what are you detaining me for? They're going to say, well, you're not really detained. Okay, I'm free to go then. Just keep playing that. And they ask you another question, say, I do not answer questions. I do not answer questions. I do not answer questions. What they're doing by asking you those questions, they're trying to get joinder with you. They're trying to get binder, which means they're trying to contract with you. You don't have to contract with anybody you don't wish to as a man or a woman. You're free to choose whomever you may want to contract with or don't want to contract with. There's nothing they can do to get you to contract with them at all. They can threaten you. They can put a gun in your face. It doesn't make any difference. You don't have to contract with these people if you don't wish to. And eventually, if you stick on that and that alone and keep your mouth shut, they're going to give up. Okay? I've seen it before and I'll see it again. Always answer questions with questions. Correct, William? The reason why is because people that are in the authority they ask questions. Their minions answer questions. So never be in a position to answer their questions. Always ask a question. Why have you stopped me here today? Who is it you presume or assume that you're talking to at the moment? What contracts do you assume or presume that we're under right now? Are you operating under your official oath? Are you operating under your official capacity and under your official oath as a police officer? Yes or no? Just answer questions, ask questions like that. Believe you me, they don't like it. And they will violate you, even though you're standing as a man or a woman. But the key is not to get flustered, not to get afraid, and just stand under your own power. Eventually, man, they're going to get so flustered that there's way easier fish, man, to catch. They're going to go down the river and throw their line in somewhere else. I guarantee it. We've seen it happen. Hello, Rachel. Hi, Carly. William R., AMC Kingdom. Murray Bloom. Lots of fine folks on the stream here. You guys wouldn't mind hitting the like button for me, please, if you're just coming into the stream here. I appreciate it. So that's basically what you do after you've decided that you want to live as a man or a woman. You want to correct your status and go about the processes of doing that. Remove yourself from all those that assume or presume authority over you. And you do that by writing them all letters and telling them what your new status is, that you're going back to your original inherent jurisdiction, the one you were born with. It's that plain and it's that simple. And it doesn't have to be complicated. And keep all the legalese words out of it. You don't have to act like a lawyer. You don't have to do anything. You just have to have the knowledge to know what you are and who you are and why you are. And if you can figure those three things out in your heart, then you can put them in your mind and then it'll manifest itself out into your daily life. But like I said, Put them all on video every time. A lot of the officers now are wearing body cams. That's another reason. Make sure that you have video evidence of any interaction with these people at all times. Vitally important. Keep a small camcorder in your glove box if you don't want to use your phone, but make sure you have a charged phone with you at all times, a charged camera, and get them on the video. If they say there's some law that says you're not allowed to videotape them, that's complete horse shit. There is no such thing. You're in the public space. There is no guarantee of privacy in the public realm. It's been proven in court time and time again, not only in Canada, but in the United States, United Kingdom, Australia, all over the world. But don't believe me. Don't believe me. Go do your own research, right? Like I said before in my other videos, is your freedom worth 1 or 2 hours a day, or even an hour or half an hour a day of your own study to learn these things and to learn how to free yourself? Mine is. I don't like people who claim authority over me. I want them to prove that authority. I need to see how that piece of paper that a man attached a signature to has anything to do with this flesh and blood vessel before you. How is it that any writing on that paper has assigned any liability on this human being, this flesh and blood? I'm not even a human being. I don't like that term because you know what it means. They assume that you mean monster. This is the thing. You got to be very careful of your wording. Carl Lentz, when he goes to common law court, he writes his claim out, and it's usually about 3 sentences long. And then he says, see Exhibit A or Exhibit B, and that's where he has his proof and all his fine details in there. Then when he goes into court, he reads off his initial statement, which is like basically, I, a man known as Carl Lentz, here to settle all debts. Is there a man or woman here today that's willing to come forward and say that I owe a debt? I'm here to settle all debts. And from that moment on, he shuts his mouth. Anything else that's done to the judge or said is written on a piece of paper, given to the clerk and given to the judge, and it's read into the record. The reason he does that is because he knows it's so easy for them to get you back into the legal jurisdiction. All you got to do is frig up once with something you said and didn't realize that what it means, what they know it means under their system. So that's why it's utterly important not to talk. Most people incriminate themselves. Even as a man or a woman, they incriminate themselves. Just shut up. I don't mean to be rude. I love all you guys, but just shut your yap. Don't blabber on. People have a tendency sometimes to do that when they're nervous. I understand that. But don't talk. And if you don't think you're in the position right now, you don't have the knowledge, the best way is to just say nothing at all. Like I said, I do not answer questions. Am I free to go? Or am I being detained? My wish is to leave. Am I being detained right now? Or am I free to go? And just stick to that and nothing else. And don't get off of that ever. And if they're going to continue to say you did this, you did this, you did this, you did this, don't even listen to them. Just say again, my wish is to leave. Am I free to go, or are you detaining me? I don't answer questions, and just stay on that. And then you're going to back them into a corner, and sooner or later they're not going to like it. They may still, like I said, take your property. But if you're like us and you have everything in a trust and you've got all your back doors and your loose ends tied up, there's really nothing they can do. If you don't have a registration, you don't have a license, you don't have any contract with them. And contract is what makes the law in admiralty law. The law they're trying to enslave you with, contracts and assumptions and presumptions. That's what makes their law. So if you remove all of that, they don't have a leg to stand on, right? They don't have a leg to stand on. And furthermore, when you get into the advanced stages of learning this, you can go ahead and claim ownership of that legal name that they fraudulently created from your mother and father, because you are the named on that document. You're the only one that can claim ownership of it. It became null and void the moment the fraud was done. But the problem is that your parents didn't know any better. They didn't know what was going on. If they had have seen what was going on, they would have said, no, 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 no. This is our property. This is not your property. And they would have been able to squash it right there and get ownership, the proper status back. But because they didn't know better, God love them, They allowed it to go on, and through acquiescence, which means nobody said anything about it, that's how they got away with it, even though the contract was null and void because there was fraud in it and not everything was disclosed in that contract, right? What your parents should have done was, look, what do you need this form for? Oh, well, we're going to create a birth certificate. Well, what is a birth certificate? And they started asking them all these questions, but they didn't. They thought it was that certificate of live birth with their wedding signatures that they gave to the hospital clerk, the nurse. They thought it was the same form they were getting back, but it wasn't. This is how they were able to create the fraud of personage. And that's what it is, personage. That's the fraud that they created. They took something which was not theirs and created something fictitiously that is theirs. That's the long and the short of it. But anyway, I don't really have much more, and this is just common law part 2. There'll be part 3, part 4, part 5. If you guys enjoy these series, I would appreciate a comment and a thumbs up, a like. If you found some value of it, I would appreciate a comment on that as well. It lets me know that I'm not wasting my time trying to teach something to people that don't really want to hear it. But I appreciate all you guys. I still will have interesting videos coming forward. We're never going to give up. We love our fellow man and woman, and we love this country, and we're not going to go down without a fight for it. I guarantee you. And besides that, God's on our side, and he is the ultimate creator and the ultimate sovereign, and he's the one that's going to make the final decision and always will be. So we know he's on our side. Those that know him know him. And I would encourage you, if you don't know him, get to know him, because there's going to come a time before long that you're not going to be able to find him. But if you seek him now with your heart, you'll find him. But if you don't, at some point you won't be able to. So please do it, and do it as part of your freedom paperwork, as part of your freedom education, as part of your freedom knowledge, because there's nothing more free than knowing the Lord. He is, like I said, he is freedom. To me, he is anyway. And I know he is to a lot of you guys too. So in any case, I'll sign off with that. Thank you very much for coming to this live stream. Please share it with your friends, your family, anybody you think would find benefit of it. And we would like to continue growing this channel. And I've seen recently that the subscription numbers are falling away. So please check your subscriptions. Make sure you're still subscribed. There has been an instance before where the subscriptions have been taken away. So just make sure you're still subscribed to this channel, and hit that bell if you guys want to be notified the instant we go live somewhere. Hit that notification bell, ring the bell, so to speak, so that you'll get the live notification that we are live. And we plan on going live a lot more ever since I stepped up to a different platform. I'm on a VPN now, a private network, and I'm also on a better camera. My internet still is bad, but I'm in the process of even fixing that. So we're going to keep moving forward, guys, onwards and upwards. Now isn't the time to grow cowardly and to slump down and let everyone do everything and just wait for the outcome. Now is the time to roar like lions, like never before, right? Be bold and know that you are protected and that you're under the control of the Almighty, and that you can stand under his wings and under his full armor. I put on the full armor every day from my head to my toes. So that's what we're going to do. And we're going to continue to fight for this country. We're going to fight for everything good and lovely. And we're going to dwell on those things. So anyway, I love you guys. Peace out. Take care, everybody. Thank you.